Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our live town hall with the team here at CallTrackingMetrics. My name is Kim Jaso, and I'm the Content Marketing Manager here at CTM. I'll be your moderator for today's presentation. We understand right now is a busy, stressful, perhaps anxiety-inducing time for many of us. And so we want to first thank you for taking time out of your day to spend the next hour with our team. We hope this presentation will not only be worth your while, but help put you a bit more at ease and give you some ideas on tools to help your team weather this transition. So we have a packed presentation today where we're going to speak with a number of people from CTM about how we're internally responding to the situation, as well as how we're focused on helping customers weather this transition. You'll hear a bit about tools to help your sales and support teams, as well as from our paid media manager, who will speak to ways you might want to be thinking about your advertising strategy right now. We'll also hear from our director of customer success about client stories and how some of our customers are adapting their own business right now. Finally, the second half hour will be dedicated to live Q&A. So feel free to start submitting any questions that you have during the presentation, which you can do via the panel in Zoom. If you hover over the bottom portion, there should be a section where it says Q&A, and we'll do our best to get to as many as possible. Also, just a note that we are recording today's presentation, and we'll share that afterwards with you via email. Before we get started, I thought it might be interesting to launch just a quick poll and get a gut check for how everyone's doing. You know, I know we're all facing many challenges right now, but if you had to choose, what's been one of the biggest challenges you're facing, whether it's keeping your team connected and inspired while remote, maintaining consistent communication with customers, navigating changes to your revenue or business model, or determining how to adjust your advertising budget. So we'll give everyone a few minutes here, or a few seconds, to fill in and choose an option. Okay, so it seems right now the biggest challenge is navigating changes to your revenue or business model, which totally makes sense. I think that's something that we're all facing. We will be touching a little bit on all of these challenges throughout today's presentation. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our presenters so we can get started. First, we'll be hearing from Todd Fisher and Lori Fisher, who are CEO and COO, respectively, and co-founders of CallTrackingMetrics. Next up, we'll be hearing from Jason Smith, who's our sales engineer, followed by Matt Horstman, our senior customer support engineer, Lisa Salvatore, our senior paid media strategist, and Jeremy Wingate, our director of customer success. And now I'd like to turn it over to Lori and Todd to get us started.
Thank you, Kim, and welcome everyone. Like Kim said, I know everyone is very busy and heads down right now, so appreciate your time with us. Like many of you, Todd and I's last 2 weeks has been filled with lots of conversations with customers and business partners about how to respond to COVID-19. As we reflect, the only thing that Todd and I can relate it to from our professional past is September 11th, when we were all so simultaneously concerned about helping our companies and protecting our jobs, but also keeping our families safe. As we think about the themes from the conversations we've been having, a big one is that unpredictability is here to stay. And what's really been interesting to us is to talk with customers about how they're translating that unpredictability into this new direction and increased focus for their business. They're thinking about this like the new normal and adapting their companies at a rapid pace. Some of the things that stand out to us as we reflect on what some of our savviest customers are doing is they are kind of understanding and embracing the fact that this is really scary. And they understand that everyone that they're talking to is filled with anxiety for their family's health, job stability, childcare logistics, homeschooling. And the best companies are those that are reacting to that by treating customers and employees with generosity and kindness. That long-term loyalty that you're going to gain from that is incredibly important. And it's not only the right thing to do for us all as people, but people are looking at that as a way to also ensure long-term loyalty from all of their employees and channel partners. Our customers, employees, and local communities come first and owners come last. And we see many examples of that happening across our customer base. Todd and I feel this personally as owners of CTM, and we're all in this together. Something else that's interesting is that companies are treating this like a dress rehearsal. It's scary and it's a defining moment, but companies are looking at this as a preparation for expected future volatility. How do you emerge stronger with smarter operations, deeper relationships? And it's now becoming more clear that the future could have more situations like this. This could become more common. We could also see increasing changes in globalization and climate change. And all the things that we're doing right now are going to really prepare us for that future uncertainty. Obviously, costs matter, and every company that we talk to is facing some sort of cash crisis of their own. But it doesn't matter as much as necessarily as relevance. Our savvy customers are getting ahead of this and adjusting their approach to reflect that their customers now have a higher bar than ever for what is essential. And we all have to be demonstrating if our product is essential or discretionary. And what was essential, a month ago might not be now. Some things and tips from what we're hearing. One is start by taking a close look at your value proposition. Not all products and services are of the same importance today as they were 3 weeks ago, and adjust your proposition to reflect what your customers need right now. Communicate carefully. Many businesses are really focused on making sure that their employees and customers have everything that they need to be comfortable in their new working arrangements and in this new era of uncertainty. But be careful that you're not signaling to them that what they're doing is not essential. We see so many customers encouraging people to work from home, stop travel, postpone meetings, but make sure that in those communications, you still are 100% focused on how important what your team is doing and how important innovation and the solutions they're providing are. And every message to your team, and as we see customers communicating with their teams, there's this new level of urgency that we see around helping customers now more than ever before. Now's the time to be disruptive. Now's the time to be thinking with every customer about how you can do that thing you've been talking about for a year. How do you actually make it happen now? So we're all in this together. Our team has been innovating at such a rapid pace across the past couple of weeks. It's amazing to watch and to be a part of it. I wanted to take a moment to quickly show you the resources that we have on our COVID Resource Center, such as checklists for going remote. There's a guide for launching the soft phone at your business, and there's easy access to our help docs. So that's a great place to just have easy access to if you need to make any of those adjustments at your business. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the amazing members of our team who are working tirelessly with customers right now to help them adjust to this new normal and have them share with you some of the best practices that we're seeing for leveraging CTM to position their businesses.
Thanks, Lori. We're very fortunate as a sales team here to be selling a product that's very much in demand right now and very much helping those essential companies that need to keep working. It's a crazy time, and I think sales teams everywhere are trying to find what the new operating procedure looks like under these kinds of conditions. So some of the things that we've adjusted for here on the CallTrackingMetrics sales team is just making sure that we're empathetic with every interaction, every customer, every prospect that we talk to, being delicate and concerned for their needs. We're probably slowed down and being less aggressive with our cold lead outreach during these times and focusing more on stuff that we already had in the funnel, clients that are already being worked and our new inbound prospects, and just making sure that tone is considerate of the current climate. That outreach, we're focusing mainly on the verticals and industries that are likely to be active and in need of services like ours. We've had a lot of success stories from our existing customers that are spinning up CTM to work remote. We've had a handful of new prospects that have come to us for those capabilities, and we've been able to react very quickly and spin up those telework solutions for them. We're seeing this most in industries like healthcare, addiction treatment facilities, home services, and call centers that are pushing all their agents remote. We're also focusing a lot on our lost opportunities, re-engaging with those prospects that were maybe on the fence in the past and couldn't justify the extra cost for some of these contact center features that we support, these telework scenarios that we can spin up, and engaging with customers that are canceling, making sure that we understand exactly what the reason that they're leaving our platform during this time is, and if there's anything else we can do, any features we can uncover to help them find some additional value in what we have to offer here. As we manage our day-to-day tasks, some of the features that we use every day on a regular basis have changed, and kind of polling the team here, some of the things that we're leveraging more inside of CTM are things like monitoring the activities. So using our call log and activity reports and real-time agent dashboards, you have the ability, wherever you can get to your web browser, to kind of see what the team's up to. So we've been checking in remotely more and more to see where everyone is in their day and how productive everyone is being throughout the day. The live listen capabilities, it's been absolutely critical for us to kind of pop in and listen to these phone calls. Right before this whole thing kind of started, we onboarded 2 new sales reps. So the live listen capabilities, being able to coach them and not have the caller hear what we're saying or even barge into those conversations where they could use an extra hand to answer a tough question. That's been a really cool feature that we're using a lot more of. The auto dialer is another one that's been great for us to keep everybody busy doing our call blitzes and our outreach, being able to remotely have an administrator upload a list of contacts and set a specific time when any agent that's available and not already on the call is going to be making outbound dials to stay connected with our customers and prospects. And lastly, the keyword spotting. So this is a great tool, being able to pick out specific keywords that we want to hear when a caller or an agent is saying. It allows a manager to kind of quickly peruse the call log and see the different keywords that have been spoken in that conversation and what might need a listen to. You don't have to go through and listen to every single phone call. We can, at a high level, look and say, oh, this is a call where somebody asked for a manager, or this is a call where our sales person was pitching the Salesforce integration. So another thing that's changed is our value prop and what people are asking for us to demo for them as we're getting new requests. So historically, the most common thing that we're demoing and talking about with new prospects is our marketing attribution. How do I get this keyword from my PPC campaign matched to my phone call? But now more and more is what we're seeing is this call management feature set that we have. And a lot of our existing customers not even knowing that this is an option that they have available, but this is really the sweet spot for setting up your telework team through CallTrackingMetrics. So I'll just talk through some of these options quickly. The first and most basic is just logging in and updating your call routing settings. So you have the option to point the calls from these tracking numbers wherever you want to answer them. So that can be as simple as just forwarding the calls from the main number on your voice over IP system in the office to pointing the calls to your home phone or your cell phone. And then a little bit more advanced, you have our call queue capabilities. So this allows you to put all of your agents as users in CallTrackingMetrics and define their individual 10-digit numbers that you want to ring them, whether it's their house phone or their cell phone. And then you put the agents into this ring group, and our call queues allow you to define some very specific, very granular behaviors for how, when, and where we're going to send the calls to those individual agents. So things like a round robin or a simultaneous ring pattern. Some other cool features that are supported here are the ability to prompt that agent to accept the call. And what that does is it allows us to ring 5 or 6 iPhones at the same time, but that first iPhone that we tried to ring, their voicemail is not going to take that call out of the queue. They actually have to answer, acknowledge that they're ready to grab that call. Additionally, here in the call queues, you have the no answer scenario. So how long do we want to give that call or give those agents to answer that phone call? And what do you want CallTrackingMetrics to do at the end of that allotted amount of time? Do we want to try and send it to another call queue? Do we want to send it to a different number, maybe a third-party answering service? Or do we want to direct that caller to leave a voicemail where we can send you a notification and email with a link to the recording that they left? And so far, everything has been using your existing phone system, but across all of the CallTrackingMetrics plans, we also provide this web-based soft phone. It's a great alternative to your cell phone. It allows an agent to log into CallTrackingMetrics and make and receive phone calls with a headset and a microphone directly from their computer. On the lower plans that we offer, it's very basic one-to-one dialing. As you go up in plans, you get more bells and whistles here, things like the auto dialer, custom wrap-up panels, and custom fields for dispositioning all of these phone calls and things. In this soft phone, you can also, in addition to phone calls, you can manage your text messages. We can route text messages to the agents in the soft phone. We can also route our web-based chat widget to the agents in the soft phone. So it becomes a unified communications tool where we have several channels of communication being pointed to these agents that are logged into CTM wherever they can get a quiet space to work. And then lastly, for kind of that broader outreach and communication, the auto dialer and the bulk texting capabilities. So I talked a little bit about our use of the auto dialer, but there are some really cool things that you can do with our auto dialer product, from your traditional power dialing, where we're just uploading a list of contacts. We want to go down that list with all of our agents available to field those calls. We can also, using our triggers and workflows, put people into that auto dialer campaign automatically based on things like a missed call. Somebody called in this morning, no agent answered that phone call. As a result, we automatically add them into an auto dialer. The next time the agent logs in, they're going to be dispatching an outbound call to that person that we missed earlier. The bulk texting allows you to bring a list of contacts to CallTrackingMetrics, upload a CSV file, and send out a SMS message to people that have opted in to receive that type of communication from you. This can be a great tool to get out in front of your customer base in times like this. Let them know that you are going to be available to some extent. Maybe your response times are going to be a little bit slower. It's also a great tool for internal communication. So using this as a tool to send a blast out to your employees working from home, making sure that they're engaged and they're up to date with the latest news and information. So this is a stat that we found prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. It'll be very interesting to see where this goes in 6 months to a year if we don't double or triple this number.
Thanks, Jason. At this time, we're going to turn it over to Matt, who will talk about some of our remote support tools.
Thanks, Kim. Hey everyone, my name's Matt and I'm a senior customer support engineer here at CallTrackingMetrics. I've been with this company a little over 3 years now, and I started working remotely over a year ago when I moved out to Colorado with my family. Even with all that time and planning that went into my transition to the remote experience, there were still hiccups along the way, but with patience, perseverance, and support from my teammates, we overcame those challenges. And I can honestly say this has been one of the best changes in my life. So with all of that planning going into it and still hitting some hiccups, it's no wonder that people are running into that with this unplanned migration. So from my process, I'd like to share a few tips and tricks I found helpful, as well as some of the top inquiries we've been receiving on the support team related to this remote workforce migration. So starting with some tips and tricks here, before we can even log into our system, we're going to need an internet connection, so let's start there. You should review both your internet connection as well as your internal network activity, especially if you're not the only one at your home who will be online while you're working. Ask your service provider to confirm or enable quality of service, or QoS, on your account. This will help prioritize voice traffic in your network and ensure audio quality during your calls. Also ask your service provider about any data limit plans or data limits on your plan, and if your connection could get throttled if you exceed a certain amount of data in any time period. This happened to me even though I thought I signed an unlimited data contract, so I was experiencing audio quality issues near the end of each month, until I called my provider, confirmed my suspicions, and got on a new, truly unlimited data plan. Also review the activity on your local network. Are your kids or your roommates hogging bandwidth playing online games while you're trying to get work done? Check your router, see if there's any options to manage that activity. Maybe you can limit their bandwidth during certain work hours or just stop them entirely. Also, while reviewing your network, I recommend running the Twilio network test. This will gauge how well your connection will handle the phone calls in our system. You can just go to networktest.twilio.com and the test will start running themselves. These quick processes will check a few things, including confirming your audio input and output is functional, like your mic and headset, and estimating how many simultaneous calls your network can handle. And for the purposes of CallTrackingMetrics, you can ignore the video tests on this page. So once you reviewed the network and it's your first time connecting from a new device or a new connection, and you're planning to use the soft phone, there's a few quick things I like to confirm so I know I'm ready to accept those calls and chats. First, make sure your browser has allowed microphone permissions for our website. When you first open the soft phone from a new device or browser, you should be prompted for microphone access. Make sure to grant this permission, and if needed, you can check your browser settings to confirm. If you're on a Mac device, check the operating system as well. You might need to allow your browser itself to have those microphone permissions before you allow our application. Then after granting those permissions, place an outbound call from your soft phone and confirm audio is working in both directions. And here's a pro tip. You can adjust your soft phone audio devices to suit your preference. Would you like to hear an inbound ringing on your desktop speaker to get your attention and then use your headset during the call itself? No problem. Just update your soft phone settings by clicking on that gear icon. On this screenshot, the top left is going to show an example of what that microphone prompt looks like from our application. The bottom left is an example of Google Chrome where you can find those permissions. And on the right side are just a couple of those audio devices as an example here. So the next piece I'd like to talk about is communication. I'm passionate. In fact, I'm an over communicator, and for good reason. I make sure my team is informed if I'm going to be unavailable or if I'm witnessing any trending issues throughout the day. These conversations also help keep my finger on the pulse, since we all share insights from our individual viewpoints. Chatting is my personal preferred method of internal communication, since I typically need to get or provide information quickly, which is why I'm a huge fan of our internal chat feature. Once you've purchased and applied a few chat licenses, you can use our soft phone to quickly and easily chat with your team during or in between calls and customer chats. This is especially helpful if you need advice from a teammate during an active call. And if I am going to be offline or unavailable for any reason, I like to provide an ETA for when I'm going to return, like if I'm heading into a meeting for 30 minutes. Maybe consider custom agent statuses to help inform your team why you're unavailable or not accepting calls. Each account is allowed 8 of these custom statuses. And in my own, I like to end each one with a number indicating how long I anticipate being offline. In this slide here, on the left side is an example of the internal chat tab inside the soft phone to communicate with your teammates. And on the right side are a couple of those example custom statuses I mentioned. So these are a few of the tips and tricks I wanted to share. Now we can move into a couple of the top inquiries we've received in the support team over the past few weeks. The first I would say is going to be an incorrect browser. We are optimized for Google Chrome. If you're encountering any odd behavior in a different browser, log in with an up-to-date Google Chrome browser to see if that resolves the issue. This simple solution has resolved countless user issues of various symptoms. And the next one is toggling agent availability. Agents can toggle their status from the soft phone to stop receiving calls and chats by clicking the Stop Accepting Calls button, or select a custom status from the drop-down menu at the top of the phone. If agents are answering calls on external lines, like an inbound number in their user profile, you can click the target icon in the call log to stop or start receiving calls for the soft phone as well as the external line. And to clarify, an example would be routing calls directly to an agent or to several agents in a queue. This would not apply when routing to receiving number objects. Kim, if you could take us to the next slide, please. On the left side here is that start and stop target button I mentioned that would stop the calls to your soft phone as well as external lines. And on the right side is that stop accepting calls button in the soft phone itself. And that's it for my time. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Lisa.
Great, thanks, Matt. Hello, everyone. I will spend the next few minutes sharing with you the changes we're seeing in the digital marketing landscape, particularly in paid advertising, and what you can do and what you should look for to adapt with your campaigns. It is important to note that current changes in user behavior and trends do vary by industry. For us here at CallTrackingMetrics, we are treading new water ourselves. Activity we saw last week is already different this week and is different from 2 weeks ago. From the beginning of March to now, search interest in telecommuting increased 614% on Google. That is how quickly and significantly user behavior online can change, and why it is important to be proactive with the management of your digital advertising campaigns. And the best way to do that in these uncertain times is to be nimble and be prepared to pivot, while also thinking short-term and long-term. So in the short term, monitor your campaigns daily and make adjustments. Optimizations you might typically make on a weekly or monthly basis should now be daily. So first, you should set up dashboards so you can quickly and easily identify shifts in performance. CTM's integration with Google Data Studio is a great way to do this. Within Google Ads, use the Keyword Planner tool to look for any changes in traffic on your most valuable terms. Also review the Auction Insights report to see how your competitors are adjusting, and look at the Search Terms report to see if the keywords triggering your ads are still relevant or not. Then add or negate the terms accordingly. If you run display campaigns, you can temporarily block news-related sites or content if you prefer. Next, consider the locations of your businesses. If some areas are affected more than others, adjust your location bid adjustments in response. And if you run shopping ads, make sure you pause or update accordingly if items are out of stock. If your hours of operations have changed, update your Google business profile as well. Also, I recommend keeping an eye on your traffic by desktop and mobile devices. This usage behavior could be changing rapidly in your campaigns with more people working remote. We have seen a slight uptick in desktop usage over mobile in the past 2 weeks. Lastly, know your tolerance for risk and your performance targets. If you can afford to not pull back on your ad spend and are still hitting your ROI goals, then don't. You could get more visibility at a lower cost, as many advertisers are cautiously reducing ad spend right now. And one more thing to note, if you are using automated smart bidding strategies, you might need to readjust your targets. If your cost per lead has come down, make sure the system is optimizing to the new target. Okay, next, focus on the messaging, context, and tone of your ads. First, be mindful of images in your ads that show people who are not practicing social distancing. You don't want to come across as insensitive to the fact we all can't sit tightly around a table or shake hands right now. And then tailor your ad messaging to speak to potential customers during this time and recognize they may still be looking for your products or services. Either do not call attention to the situation or add in language such as, "We are here for you," or "We are committed to providing you with the service you expect." If your product or service can solve your customers' challenges, let them know. For example, CTM is a great solution for remote teams, and we want to make sure new and existing customers know we can help them maintain business continuity. But consider your context and tone before you post. Be sensitive and empathetic, and do not try to capitalize on the situation with your wording or offers. And then for the long term, you will want to consider new ad formats and ad channels. You can't change what has happened over the past few weeks with your ad campaigns, but you can set a pipeline for the future. The search results page has seen a lot of disruption in the past few weeks. So think about other outlets to reach your customers, such as enabling search partners in your paid search campaigns, as well as running display, Gmail, or video ads. With more people working remotely, the use of streaming services is surging. Audio ads or connected TV ads are also worth considering if your budget allows for it. With such dynamic market conditions and uncertainty, you may find customers are hesitant to take action and convert, but they are still researching and ingesting content. Think about native ad formats to promote your content to reach people at the right moment who are receptive to your message. Expanding to these new channels and not relying so heavily on paid search naturally shifts your advertising strategy to target more to the top of your funnel. It is a good approach to take right now, and it will allow you to still reach your target customer during their consideration phase, and it opens the opportunity for strong retargeting campaigns going forward. And lastly, one quick note about your SEO efforts. Keep them on track. If and when search demand and behavior returns to its previous state, you want to be poised for a quick bounce back organically. And lastly, with so much changing each day, it is important to stay up to date on market conditions and industry trends. For example, Google is currently limiting reviews and Q&A on your Google My Business listing, and setting up a local services dashboard could be delayed. Facebook says ad reviews are taking longer than usual, and ad delivery may also be delayed. I recommend subscribing to newsletter lists from your favorite industry sites and the CTM blog so that you can receive the info you need on a regular basis right in your inbox.
Thanks, Lisa. At this time, we're going to turn it over to Jeremy, who will share some of our client stories.
Thanks, Kim. Hello, everyone, and thanks again for joining us today. We wanted to share some examples of what our customers are doing as they, too, navigate COVID-19. One thing to start with is to give you an idea of our customer base. We truly have all walks of life, from digital agencies to law firms, from home services and software companies, to healthcare and rehabilitation centers. But one thing we all have in common right now is that we are all facing the uncertainty around COVID-19. And we wanted to share some highlights from 3 of our great customers: Coalmarch, LDR Site Services, and ROI Revolution. The first company we'd like to discuss today is Coalmarch. Coalmarch is the leading provider of digital marketing and sales efficiency solutions for the pest and lawn industries. They have been helping home service industry leaders get more leads, close more sales, and grow their businesses for over 10 years. And they are a great client and partner of CallTrackingMetrics. Within the first few days of the pandemic, Coalmarch set out to assist their industry, their customers, and employees alike. One of the main initiatives they had was to centralize communications. I'm sure you all can attest to this, but with all the noise out there, it was critical to create a centralized hub for all things around COVID-19. This makes it easy for consistency in messaging, posting regular updates, and creating a central location for their stakeholders to refer to back in the future, or when they go into the future. Now on this hub, they include ideas on how to help their customers with managing their own staff, their own marketing, sales, people management, and financials during the pandemic. And Coalmarch does this with a heavy focus on the customer. To ensure they're getting the message to their audience, they're communicating on their website, their blog, emails, and social channels. Another thing that they do very well is to always remind customers of how to reach them for support assistance. Some very basic things, such as reminding your customers of how to get a hold of you, may be crucial in a time of need. So something for all you to consider is just to remember the simple things. Don't let those go any stone unturned when it comes to letting your customers know how to get a hold of you. A new initiative that they launched last week to help those in their industry is a weekly webinar series called COVID Proof Your Business. This is another channel in which they can regularly communicate with customers and also help to continue to build their brand. One observation I had at CallMarch personally is their constant message of positivity and just having fun. They remind us that although it's a very difficult time, we need to remember not to lose ourselves, to remember to laugh, and to remain focused on how we can come out of this even stronger. On Twitter alone, CallMarch has done things like sharing photos of their pets from the home office, trying to keep employees engaged with each other. They even had a work from home sock fashion show. It's pretty cool, something different. And even Mad Libs for remote workforce. So they're getting creative and having fun. So I think it's really telling of the type of company they have. They care about their employees and the engagement, even though that they're remote. And CallMarch's CEO, Donnie Shelton, having the opportunity to work with him, he's one of the more positive people you could ever meet. And I think their entire company's positivity is something that all of us can learn from during this difficult time. One of our customer success managers, he actually shared this quote with us from another great client, LDR Site Services. They're a nationwide managed site services company. If you just think about this quote, to think that CallTrackingMetrics has been able to have such an impact and help so many businesses with continuity to maintain communications with their employees and their customers, it's pretty awesome. LDR Site Services told us that when COVID-19 hit, for them, it was as simple as logging off a CTM at the office, and when they got back home, they simply logged back in. The next company I wanted to discuss today is ROI Revolution. ROI Revolution is a digital marketing e-commerce agency focused on PPC, social media, SEO, CRO, and Amazon advertising for retailers, and lead gen to B2B and B2C. They're another wonderful partner we have here at CallTrackingMetrics. When COVID-19 became more prevalent, like many of us, ROI was faced with what to do with their staff. Their leadership decided that they needed to think of the safety of their employees, so they went to the remote workforce. And this is going to be that way until given further notice. Keep in mind local government officials, CDC recommendations definitely have an impact on this as well. But thankfully, ROI has a talented IT staff that helped them through this transition. And to help keep the employees engaged after going remote, they use things like Google Hangouts, video and chat, just to stay engaged. Some of the things I mentioned earlier today, just keeping each other active and having fun. They also use Zoom conferences, just like we are all on a Zoom conference right now. They do that to have meetings with their customers, stay engaged with them. And another area that ROI is starting to focus on is how they can continue to help their customers even more. Today as an agency, most of their focus is helping clients to build brands, like most of us on the call today. But as they're on the CallTrackingMetrics contact center plan, they're able to offer their customers remote workforce tools, such as our soft phone, call management capabilities, team chat, and external chat. In helping customers through COVID-19, they'll also have opened up a new revenue channel that they can offer to other clients moving forward. So to kind of summarize these stories today, I think it'll be important for all of us to remember some basic things. Number one, just communicate. You can never over-communicate with your customers and employees during these difficult times. 2, centralize information, but communicate it through different channels to assure you're reaching your audience. 3, think of the best ways to keep employees and customers connected, even when being remote. And remember to have some fun when doing so. And finally, keep positive and stay focused on how you can help your customers and yourselves. And remember, we will all get through this together even stronger.
Thanks, Jeremy. At this time, we're going to turn it over to some live Q&A. We have some questions that were submitted in advance, but again, if you have questions, feel free to submit them live and we'll try to get to as many as possible. So the first question we have is, how is everyone handling cancellations or requests to suspend service due to COVID-19? Maybe this is something Lori or Jeremy could take.
Yeah, I'll go. This is Jeremy. I'll take that, Kim. Thanks. So I'm sure it's a variety of things, to be honest. Just like I talked about a little bit ago, all of our industries just here at CallTrackingMetrics, they're so different. So to help a cancellation, in different industries, there's not obviously a silver bullet that we could share today. But I guess, just above all, have empathy, start there. Try to do what you can for your customer. Of course, as a business, whatever you're able to do, of course, we want to do everything, but sometimes everything you just can't physically do or financially do as a business. So make sure you know your limits. Just make sure you know what you can and can't do for them. Lean on the relationships is something else I would make sure to point out from your account owners, whether they're sales individuals, customer success, account management, whatever you might have, even customer services folks. How do we best help our customers in this time, and lean on those relationships to do what you can.
Great, thanks, Jeremy. From the marketing perspective, how are you addressing your ability to help customers during this time on advertising or in social media without coming across as opportunist? And I know Lisa touched on this a little bit, but perhaps you have some thoughts to expand on?
Sure, of course. So we're focusing on messaging the features of our products that are the most resourceful to our customers who may be working remotely. We're also making them aware of the content and support we have available to help them navigate through this time. We're also being mindful, I did mention this, of the images we're using in our posts. Otherwise, we're proceeding with business as usual with our ads and our social posts, but kind of doing a double review just to make sure our messages are still appropriate. Maybe in case some of the words might have a double meaning now than a couple of weeks ago. But otherwise, it's pretty much business as usual.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Another question we have is, how are you helping your newly remote teams stay engaged and efficient, even with the change in environment and anxiety around the coronavirus situation?
Kim, this is Lori. I can take this one. In some ways, we were very lucky coming into this because, as you see from the various kind of tools and practices that Jason and Matt were showing, we already use our own software for all of our communications. So we were able to take advantage of the tools that they were showing you from the first moment we all went remote. We're also doing things like, we have, each department has daily stand-ups so that they're all staying connected. We use Basecamp internally for kind of keeping in touch. And so everybody in the company fills out a daily, what are you working on update so that you can watch what everyone is doing every day. We also are doing fun things, like Jeremy had said, thinking about ways to keep things fun. We had a St. Patrick's Day costume contest. We had PJ Day. We're planning a sunglasses on happy hour today over Zoom. So just finding ways to connect with each other and keeping things light as much as possible.
Great, thanks, Lori. Another more technical question, maybe Matt, you can take this one, is how should I go about troubleshooting any audio issues on phone calls?
Oh, sure thing. Audio issues happen, I think, to everybody, especially now lately with the state of things, and I'm seeing a lot of carrier network congestion going on. But they're definitely tricky to troubleshoot. We investigate each report case by case, depending on the symptoms being experienced. The path of resolution can vary, of course. But there's a few steps I like to start with. Look for patterns. How many users are affected? Is it just one person, everybody, handful of people? Is it specific to inbound or outbound phone calls? Is it specific to certain phone numbers? Test a different headset, test a different computer if you can, maybe even test a different network connection if that's possible. Incognito browser can be one of your best friends. Maybe you have a plugin or an extension that could be causing some issues. So just for comparison, log directly into an incognito browser, log directly into our application and try it from there, as opposed to like a Salesforce soft phone that you might be using. And another one that feature we recently released is an ICE connectivity toggle. You can find this in each user profile as well as in Teams. When in doubt, I would do this at a user level, just so you have a little more control of where that's happening. That's going to change some things on the back end with their network connection. I won't bore everybody with those technical details right now, but we are finding success with it. It's at least a quick switch you can flip and see if it helps. But at least that's kind of a start there.
Awesome, thanks. Another question, how has COVID-19 impacted your product roadmap and priorities? This is for us at CTM, I presume. Maybe Todd could take this one?
Sure, yeah, thank you. In response to COVID-19, which definitely caught us a little bit off guard here, we sort of looked at our roadmap and started to shift more of the communications tools to the front. We kind of focus here on two different things, either attribution or communications. And so we definitely have shifted more of the communications tools to the front. So doubling our efforts with native app development, starting to invest in more of those communication tools that Matt highlighted with internal Teams communications, thinking about reporting tools that can help make obvious issues. So, thinking about the insights of a call and sort of the communications features of those calls that might be really important to know about ahead of time, like if there were audio telemetry issues on the call, can we expose those more rapidly to a team, and so that you can troubleshoot things faster. So that's kind of how we shifted our roadmap. So we're more focused heavily on the communication side of the technology stack right now. We're still pushing ahead with some of the attribution features that we had in a pipeline. So, you sort of have things, you're midstream, you don't want to just stop, you have to finish what you started. So finishing out those features, but then sort of shifting some of the priorities to then focus more on the communication side. All right.
Great, thanks, Todd. All right, and it looks like we have just one more question. Again, if you have any more, feel free to submit them now. How are you communicating with your team about sales and numbers? Has anything changed in your strategy for keeping employees informed about revenue goals and targets?
Kim, this is Lori. I can probably take this one, and if anyone else has anything to add, feel free to jump in. For us, and I think a lot of businesses, forecasts are being redone, right? And they're having to be redone pretty dramatically for the year. And what a lot of businesses are finding is that each week matters. So they're seeing very different trends for this week than they did 2 weeks ago, obviously. So we've adjusted a lot of our reporting to be on a weekly basis because we're finding it's giving us better insight than our traditional kind of monthly and quarterly views, and is allowing us to react better to what's happening in our customer base. So I think kind of re-educating our employees around that view, and kind of educating them also of how to balance the ups and downs that they're going to see in that, because some weeks could be really alarming, and understanding kind of why that is, and how do we expect those trends to play out. So informing them, educating them on how to look at it, keeping them focused on the long term as well. I think that's what was also really important for this is going to come to an end at some point. Unlike a traditional recession where there's potentially not an end for a long time, we are expecting a V curve with this. So making sure that people don't lose sight of the longer term perspective of what we do now, how it's going to really help us as we emerge out of the bottom of that V. So it's a balance of making sure that people are informed with what's going on so that they can appropriately react, but also not losing sight of, like, there's a light at the end of this tunnel. We need to be ready to be well positioned for that.
Great, thanks, Lori. So with that, we just want to quickly reiterate that our whole team is here for you. If there's anything that we can do to help you navigate this new time in our lives, please let us know, either in the chat or Q&A box, or you can just send us an email at info@CallTrackingMetrics. And we'd love to hear how we can help. And with that, we'll just point you again to some of the resources that we've put together. This COVID-19 hub is actively updated whenever we create new materials. So be sure to bookmark it and come back to it on occasion. And again, you can get in touch with our team. We're available via live chat, phone, and email as well. And our support hours are listed there as well for reference. So thank you everyone again for your time and attention today. We hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay safe and healthy, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon.